Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Planet X News. It is June 5th, 2017, and we are here today with our physicist, our rogue physicist, and we're going to be going over some of this Core 2 imaging from SETI and the stereo imaging that has to do with Venus. And I've been going over this imaging now for probably about 4 or 5 days. And I did some reporting on it, did a short live stream on it, and I've let everybody see what we're about to get into. I've been discussing this with our physicist, and just a few minutes ago, we've come to another conclusion dealing with this footage. We actually do think that there is an object underneath. Well, basically, it looks like they patched the image and they're hiding something underneath it, or they pixelated the image. And we're going to show you exactly what we mean. And a few days ago, the doctor did a report on what she was able to see on the stereo imaging. And then a few more days have gone by. More of the imaging was available. And that's what I was looking at on the SETI imaging, the Core 2 SETI imaging. And it's my personal belief that there is no doubt they are trying to cover something up that was in the footage, and it sure as hell isn't Venus. It's just not Venus. So, you know, I'm sure there will be people that will disagree with me. They may disagree with the doctor, but I've been looking at this footage now for days and days and days. And now I've made up my mind 100%. I do think that they have hidden something underneath or pixelated it so we can't see it clearly. But we're going to take this apart piece by piece. I did take some still shots, some screenshots of this object, and change some contrast, some color, some inversions, and we can clearly see that they did something to the images. There's no doubt. So when you're trying to hide something from us, then that's just bad. And we know what you're up to, and we're going to get to the bottom of it, hopefully, today. Good morning, doctor. How are you?
Good morning, Scott. I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Not doing too bad. So right off the bat, what did you think of these images in this footage?
Well, when I first looked at it, I said that is definitely not Venus, but I am sure they will say that it's Venus, because the Core 2 images I looked at were not even labeled. But when I looked at the stereo A position, I realized immediately that they would say that it was Venus, and I knew it wasn't because it was having plasma discharges, and it had a faint plasma discharge straight down towards another object below that bright object that later I saw was labeled as Venus.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and bring up this image right now, and I'm going to share it with everybody, so we're all on the same page. They know what we're talking about.
Okay.
And then I'll zoom in on it a little bit better here shortly. And ladies and gentlemen, we went back to footage from May 25th, and the reason why I went back that far, so we were able to see the image in a full sphere. And at the point where you see the object in a full sphere, all of a sudden, it starts to change its shape. What we've discovered is there seems to be a large square pixelated box that was placed over this image, basically like a digital patch. And we'll show you what we mean later on. So, doctor, whenever you started to view this portion of the Core 2A,
Yeah.
What was the first thing that came to your mind?
It's a brown dwarf star. Well, it's you see those jets, the front jet and the back jet. Okay, first of all, the moment I see an object having those sort of jets, I know it cannot be a planet. And it doesn't even just have those two jets. It's got another one that's fainter and is straight down. So, and then it's got that arc shape to it, or it develops as it moves along at the bottom, on the side facing away from the sun. Whenever I see that round arc shape on the side facing away from the sun, I immediately think of the object that I first saw in the 2007 Core 2b images, which was, to me, amazing. It was my first observation of a brown dwarf star in the inner solar system. And I think this object, what it's actually doing is as it gets closer to the sun, it gets less bright, because these objects always go into energy absorption mode when they get close to the sun. But I think that's why it changes shape. And they are trying to hide what this object is, and so they superimposed a rectangle, a bright rectangle over it, so we're not able to see the round edges and so realize what it actually is. I think that's what's happening here.
But we were able to see the round images when we were playing with the photographs. We were actually able to
you're right.
Yeah, we were actually finally able to bring these round edges out. I mean, it's the best that I can do with the software that I have.
Yeah, I think you did a good job. We could see that.
Yeah, I might even forward some of these still shots over to Prep Aussie and let him take a look at these. He is just fantastic with bringing these images out on his computer. And later on today, we're going to be going over some images that Prep Aussie down there in Australia sent me back. And a lot of you have seen these images that I took the other day. I sent them off to Australia so he could check them out. And we're going to be going over the detailed information on these photographs later on today. But this image has been driving me crazy for 5 days.
Scott, there's a dark blue shadow right behind the object.
Yeah, I did notice that also.
It's larger than this object, so I think they are hiding even more than what this object is. I think there are other objects in the image, and they just color them dark blue.
Yeah, this has just been driving me nuts.
Yeah.
Driving me crazy, crazy. And then
you see, there it is.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
You'll see it about right here in the image. And I actually slowed everything down so everyone can see it. But if you pay close attention to my cursor, hopefully you can see it on your TV, cell phone, or computer. There it is, right there. It's perfectly round.
Yeah.
And you notice, here's something that I took a lot of notice to. Whatever this line is, I don't know if that's a cutoff line. I don't know what they did here. I don't know if they pieced this together. But watch very carefully as the spherical object labeled Venus passes over it. Then it starts to break down. I find that to be very suspicious also.
Yeah. Definitely.
But just as it enters the line, there you go. So, you know, it's very hard to say what they're doing, but whatever they're doing is they're trying to hide something.
Definitely. That's obvious.
Yeah, I've never seen Venus, and look how the size of it, and then it just dissipates into whatever the hell this structure is. You know.
Yeah.
But I've seen Venus. I've seen Venus traverse the sun in the stereo imaging, the Secchi imaging. I've seen it, oh my Lord, I don't know how many times, over and over and over again over the years.
Yes.
Okay, I've never seen this type of distortion. I mean, I've just never seen it.
Yeah.
So it definitely raises
And you know
your eyebrow.
that jet behind it goes a lot further than the one in front. Now and then you can see that it goes almost right to the edge of the image. Although it's not as bright, it's almost like a different shade of blue, lighter shade of blue. You see how long that is?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, there's no doubt.
Mm.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There was something that I wanted to say. I just forgot what I wanted to say. It will come back to me.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely not Venus.
Oh, I know what I wanted to say. It seems to be going into the sun. It seems to be making not an orbit around the sun, but maybe a tight elliptical orbit where it comes in closer to the sun. I'm assuming that this object, whatever it is, will make its way around the sun and back out. I mean, I don't know. I think these objects are in some type of either a tight orbit around the sun, or, you know, some of them may be in a longer orbit around the sun. I mean, it's just so hard to say whenever they cover things up like this.
Yeah, I think it is in an orbit around the sun, and it's almost on the ecliptic now. But I think when they come into the solar system, they do not orbit along the ecliptic. They orbit at an angle to the ecliptic, and then slowly they become more and more, they straighten out the orbit.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's what I've observed.
Now, as we've said before, when we're dealing with actual planets like Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, these planets do not emit any type of a plasma discharge, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So there is absolutely no way that Venus can be emitting a plasma discharge. It just can't happen. Yeah, that definitely looks very, very odd.
Yeah, that's definitely not Venus. Venus would never do a thing like that. It's been observed for centuries. We would have known.
Yeah, that's true. We would have definitely known that. I'm gonna step over to get out of this screen here real quick. Oops. I'm going to stop my screen share for a minute, and
okay.
I'm going to pull up some of the pictures that we just took. Oh. And then once again, we'll go over here. I will share my screen. And here, ladies and gentlemen, we took some still photographs of this object and inverted it. I'm going to go ahead and bring it up a little closer in your screen. And if any of you are seeing this a little blurry and you're watching on YouTube, go to the little gear on your YouTube screen, change the resolution. If you can, make the resolution higher. You should always do that whenever you're watching your YouTube videos. It will just make things much more clear. But what we were noticing here is we can see a spherical object. Well, I would say probably 75% of it, if you just follow my cursor right around here. And then nothing in space, nothing in nature, ladies and gentlemen, has square edges. I mean, this is a perfectly rectangular box that has been placed over the object, either pixelated, patched, whatever you want to call it. The bottom line is this cannot exist in space. You cannot have a perfectly square 90-degree angle, perfectly straight lines all the way back to the edge, all the way back up to the front. But we can see, as much as we can bring the image out, we can see back here. It looks pretty clear to me. It seems like there is a large object here, very, very large, and they just basically patched right over it. They did something. You could see a lot of emissions where it's very, very light all the way around this object, even in the inversion photograph. So what do you think about that photograph? I mean, I'm just...
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I saw when we were discussing it earlier, I thought, oh my goodness, they superimposed a rectangle over the object. And on the lower edge of the rectangle, you can see that round piece there. So that to me would be the center or the hole in the envelope. This would be a brown dwarf star. It's got an envelope, and the envelope is glowing on one side. It's always the side away from the sun. That's why it's got that arc shape on the end. And then in the middle, there's that round shape below the rectangle. And that I would think would be the hole, and the core of the star is in there. And this star has been in the solar system long enough, and it's now emitting light from the core. So that's why we see that round shape there. If that rectangle had not been there, probably would be obvious to us that this is a brown dwarf star with, you know, that hole in it and so on. And so they wanted to make sure that it's covered up, I think.
Oh, they most definitely made sure that it was covered up. They don't seem to do a good job of it. I mean, I guess if you were just looking at the footage, you would say, oh, wow, look at that, you know, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, we tear things apart. I've been looking at these images, like I said, for so many years. You know, I can capture in the coronagraph images I was showing on my live stream early this morning. I was showing everyone what the possibilities of UFOs are in the coronagraph with Soho Lasco. You know, I mean, you can catch these objects. You're not going to have an object in space zipping by the sun in the shape of a boomerang. I mean, okay, if we do, we see it, what is it? Yeah. It's definitely not something that is made by nature.
Definitely not.
And then when you look at an object like this, you know, I mean, I can clearly see it looks like a green sphere right behind the object. And then again, once again, the 90-degree angles, the rectangular box. They did something. Let's take a look at another. This is another inversion. Can't see too much on this. However, you can see the very sharp edges of the 90-degree box. Yeah. Rectangular box. I mean,
it's very clear there that it's a rectangle superimposed on top of it.
Yeah. This is gonna, you know, this is gonna bug me for probably like another week. These images may haunt me. So we took another still shot of this, and I'm hoping that all of you can see this very clearly. Yeah. So we're looking right here, perfectly square box, square. So they either did something, they either cropped this image, right here and pixelated it, or they patched this image with another digital image in the video footage. They had to do something, ladies and gentlemen, because the square doesn't fit the rest of the background. And you can see the 90-degree angle. It's a perfect square. So I hope everybody can see that.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think that they, I don't know, they did something, you know, they did something, they either put like a digital patch of another piece of maybe video. I don't know exactly what they did, but they doctored this footage. They definitely did.
I agree. I think they definitely did. And I have a history of doing that.
Yep. Now, this image we just changed into black and white. Changing this image into black and white, you can see the square pixelated box pretty clear. I mean, there's no doubt that, here you go. I'll just outline it for you. And then this background in the box doesn't match the background that the box is laying on. So we'll just go ahead and zoom into this a little bit more. And now, zooming in, you can see it's round.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what they did to this.
They definitely superimpose something on top of it. It doesn't look as rectangular now as it did earlier. Maybe it's a trapezium. But yeah, they definitely put a shape on top of it to hide what it is, because the top has a straight line in it, and that's impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do we have another image that goes with that? Oh, yeah, this is the original image that was screenshotted by myself. And once again, I'll zoom in just a little bit here. I don't want to distort it so you can't see, but you can see the square box. This corner gives it away really bad, because you can see the very well-defined 90-degree angle coming down and over. And again, the background does not match the rest of the background. You can clearly see it was either overlaid, or in the video, and I'm not sure, I'm not a professional at video doctoring. Maybe you have to go to some special NASA class to be taught how to do this, but it's a possibility. Maybe they cropped this image, they cropped this, they pixelated it, and that was that. I would love to have this analyzed, as the trolls say, forensic photography. Forensic photography.
Yeah, it definitely looks not quite solid in shape, but it's got this circular shape to it beyond the lighted part. And then there's another semicircle below it that's darker, and then another sort of semicircle beyond that. So to me, it looks like the object has different layers to it. And that's what I would expect a brown dwarf star to be like, to have the core, the envelope, and then another cloud around that. So to me, that's a typical, what I would expect of a brown dwarf star.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot going on in this image. No doubt about it. I think we have one more image. I'm not too sure. See this little object down here? That's the object that was trailing this object in the footage. It looked like a little lens flare, but you're not going to have a lens flare that's that's got to be a couple 100,000 miles long.
No, if you actually follow these objects, you can see that they are moving at different speeds, and that's not necessarily the same one that I saw at the beginning of this footage. I think it was from the 19th that I saw it. But there are definitely lots of these pale red objects around, which I would say are also brown dwarf stars, but they dimmer. Because they interact. One of them at least was interacting with the objects. I put it in my article. I showed that. But it's at the beginning of the footage.
And here's one more still shot that we took.
Yes.
And once again, I'll zoom in just a little bit more here.
Yeah.
And again, you know, you can see it's perfect rectangle, a little bit wider on this back side. They may have been trying to cover up something a little bit more on this back side.
Yeah.
They were on the front side here. But something else that I just noticed. Look at what we got down here.
Yeah, there's that, and there's pixelation around it as well. Look at that.
Yeah, square box.
Yes. So they're pixelating around these objects so we don't see what they are.
Yeah, there's no doubt that they're playing some little funny games.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, and the way that I was saying too, the way that this object seems to go directly towards the sun, you know, that would be the way that a brown dwarf star would be heading. It would be headed right back to the sun. And once again, this is another image, still shot, that we took. And you could see, you can't see too clearly, but right here at the bottom, you could see the round shape. But you can clearly see the box over the object. This one's a little blurry. But there looks to be a lot going on there.
Definitely. A lot going on. And this is just one area of this core 2 image. If we were to look at other areas, we would start seeing lots and lots of other things. But this is the most interesting because it's the brightest part. But there are lots and lots of very small objects everywhere in these images nowadays because the solar system is so full of these objects.
Just amazing. You know, like I said, this is probably going to haunt me for a little while. This is going to drive me crazy, not knowing, you know, exactly what this object is. You know, I mean, I know we have a pretty good idea of what it is, but it's driving me insane not knowing. I want to see the clear image. I want to see the original image of this on the core 2 in Secchi and the core 2 on the stereo. I want to see the original image.
Yeah, of course.
Because I know that they're hiding this.
Definitely.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But we're going to go ahead and get into the doctor's report. Just let me exit out of a few things here. I'll go ahead and bring this up and share my screen once again. Bring up this report. And voila. Okay, so the report that the doctor wrote, she titled Objects Appearing in Core 2A Images between May 19th and June 2nd, 2017. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to you, Doctor, so you can go ahead and amaze everyone with your observations.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Okay, so obviously Anya observed it up to June 2nd, and then I wrote this report, so it was a few days ago. But the first thing that I noticed was, well, I did see that it was in the right position to be labeled as Venus. I didn't even check to see what it was labeled as. I knew they would label it as Venus. But then I saw immediately, because of the plasma discharges coming from the front of the object and back towards where it came from, that it couldn't possibly be Venus. So that's basically what I say there. It's got a jet plasma ejection, so it cannot be Venus.
You know
So
what?
if we scroll.
Let me make sure I shared the screen here. For some reason, it's not.
Okay.
Okay. There you go.
Okay.
I didn't have the image
Right.
set to steal. Okay. Where you were just left off while you were talking, the image wasn't appearing on the screen. I forgot to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could see it, Scott.
Yeah. Now you can see it. Before
Yeah.
it was going back and forth.
Oh, I see.
I wasn't sharing it for everyone to see on the live stream. Now they can see it as a permanent screen.
All right. So if we scroll down to figure 2, I show a close-up of the second image in figure 1.
Oh, look what we got there.
Yeah.
Oh.
You see.
Yes, I do.
So we see the object and we see 3 other objects below it. That's right. And there's actually a faint line from the object that's indicated by the yellow arrow. I'm not sure if it's very easy to see, but there's a faint line between that object and the object right below it. It is a little bit faint. And you know, the PDF files take a bit of sharpness out as well. So that's a pity. But yeah, there's definitely a connection between the 2. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely amazing. I didn't notice those in the when I looked at this earlier. And then I was looking at the actual imaging, but I didn't notice those.
Yeah. They're a little bit difficult to see because they are pale red, so they're a lot dimmer than the main object. But they're still objects. I mean, these are quite large objects. Don't forget that these would be larger than the Earth, much larger than the Earth. So they're still large objects, and they're obviously emitting light, so they're not planets. Because when you see the dim red, the pale red, it means they are emitting light, but it's not as bright as the main object.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Now, do you think these objects were close to the bright sphere, or do you think they were off in the distance? I know it's very hard to judge that type of.
Yeah, I don't think they're too far off in the distance, because don't forget the inner solar system is now filled with debris and clouds of gas. So they cannot be background stars. I don't think background stars are visible. And the way they move is they move like planets in the solar system. So they cannot be far off, and especially the one that has the plasma connection with that main object. That one has to be quite close to it because they're obviously interacting.
My. What we discover on a daily basis.
Okay, so we can scroll down a little bit more.
I'm just going to shrink this down a little bit.
Okay, now here it's another image. This one's from a little later, And you notice there are a whole lot of objects. So there are still the 3 objects there, and then there are white dots all over the place, and I indicate those with blue arrows. Yeah, the yellow arrow points to the objects below the main object. And then, yes.
And then
Yes,
we
the
have a
purple
comet.
arrow points to a comet going straight for the sun.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
sun diver. It actually didn't hit the sun. The sun actually, I think, tore it apart before it got close.
Yeah.
And then it tore it apart.
Hmm.
Yeah, you can see these objects. You can see these objects clear as a bell.
That's right. There are lots of them. There are always lots of them above the sun, but I didn't bother indicating them because then the image gets just too busy. But I don't think these are background stars, like I said before, because the inner solar system is so filled with gas and debris that in this image where we look at the outer corona of the sun, I don't think it's possible to see background stars anymore. So all these objects, I think, are in the solar system. And if they're white, then I think they're reflecting sunlight. So they're not, most of them should probably be planets. But yeah, as you can see, there are lots of them. And I don't know why we shouldn't expect to have planets in the solar system, because if we have brown dwarf stars, at least some of them would have had planetary systems.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
With all the research that I've done, on these brown dwarfs, as much as I can dig up and I could find that is pretty current.
Yes.
When I watched the long lectures that were put out by Harvard and Cornell University, they specifically talked about and referred to these brown dwarf stars as having many, many partners orbiting around them.
Yeah.
And that it was almost impossible for these substellar objects, because they feel, these astrophysicists and astronomers, they feel that these brown dwarf stars are some of the oldest substellar objects in the solar system, or, in the galaxies, in the universe. So, I mean, if you just think about it, they've been in the solar system, the universe, the galaxy, whatever, for such a long period of time.
Yes.
They've had to, gather some junk. And then I refer to Jupiter, just like they did in their lectures.
Yes.
And, Jupiter is a, failed star. It could actually be, almost classified as a brown dwarf at some point. But look at Jupiter, 60 some odd moons and other planetary objects orbiting perfectly in synchronicity around it. But do we really think anything of it? No, we don't think anything of it. We just think of it as normal, because this is what we were taught. This was the predictive programming that each and every one of us fell victim to. And that there can't be anything else entering our solar system other than a meteor or an asteroid. But in actuality, that's all wrong. And they're not going to admit it.
Yeah.
They just want you to think that the nearest brown dwarf star or substellar objects are tens of thousands of light years away. And they're not.
Yeah.
They're right here.
Exactly. They're right here, and they're teaching us the real laws of the universe. Or through them, we're starting to see the actual laws of the universe. They're quite different from what we've been taught, I think.
So this next imaging that you have here, once again, you're pointing out these multiple objects all around.
Yeah. This one I'm actually showing their motion. So you can see between the first image on the left is from 1709. And the second image is from 2324. And in that time, all these objects move. So the blue arrows also point in the direction that the objects are moving in. So even the one at the top, and there are many at the top, it moves from one position to another. You see that the position is offset because they're moving. And the arrows all point to the right. So all these objects I'm pointing to are moving to the right. But our bright object that was labeled as Venus is moving to the left. And then we see the comet. The comet is a lot less brighter there than it was before. And I think maybe it's because it's hitting clouds of ionized gas. And so it gets more difficult to see, and it may be destroyed because of all these clouds of ionized gas and debris. Obviously, if it hits these pieces of plasma and so on, it may get destroyed. So, but I point to its position where it was at 1709 and where it gets to by 2324. So that's what you can see there.
Yeah, I did watch that comet come through and basically disappear just as it got to the sun. So what do we have here on this image? This is figure number 5, core 2A, May 30th.
So this is the later image. So it's more like the one that we've been looking at, that you showed us. Those still photographs, and you saw the rectangular shape. There you can see the rectangular shape. Yeah. And here I point to the fact that it's got an arc shape on the side facing away from the sun, and it's lit sort of orangey red. That's right. It's not as bright as the main object.
Oh, looky what we just found out here. Look at the, oh my.
Yes.
Looky what we got here.
Yes.
Oh, we didn't do.
Oh my, look how pixelated it is. You can actually see several objects around it. They look kind of green.
Yes, they do.
Oh my, and there's a purple one behind it.
Yes,
and
there is.
Oh my.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, you're seeing this for the first time with us, because we were reviewing some actual footage from stereo and Secchi that I screenshot, but the doctor, she took these herself. And what is the date on this again? May 30th?
Yes, this is from May 30th.
Yeah, May 30th. Well, there you go. So,
oh my.
Yeah. You know what? I just have to zoom. Can I zoom in even more?
Yes. This is amazing.
Uh-oh.
No wonder they pixelate around it. Oh my good. It's not alone.
There's one here.
Definitely.
There's one here. One here. There's a purple. Seems to be a purple object here. There's one right here.
Yes.
And then we have our perfectly rectangular box, the NASA box.
Yes.
And whatever's occurring back here.
And you know what? I don't think these are planets, these green objects, because if you look at the one above the main object, you see that little black spot it's got?
Yeah.
To me, that means this is a brown dwarf star, because it's got the green is the envelope and the black dot is the opening inside the envelope where the core of the star is. The moment I see that kind of shape, and the other ones below it are kind of ring shaped, and that's again characteristic of brown dwarf stars. So I think they're conglomerating. They actually are attracted to each other, it seems. Yeah, because this main object is brighter.
Yeah, they have been known to cluster. Now, you know, when I was able to watch all of that seminar, that lecture from Harvard, based on, you know, the discovery of brown dwarfs, they had imaging of a cluster a very large cluster. I think it was 7 or 8 brown dwarf stars in a cluster. They had a plate image from, I think it was from WISE. I forget which satellite was used to take that image. And then 6 months later, they imaged the same section of space pointing directly where this cluster of brown dwarf stars was. And after 6 months, the cluster broke up. And the brown dwarf stars were all over the place at that point.
Wow.
And that was something that was very confusing to all of the astrophysicists, scientists, and astronomers that attended that lecture. You know, and this was at Harvard University, and then the next one was held at Cornell University, 2 prestigious schools.
Yes.
So I don't think that, even though I don't like I don't like these astronomers, I think they're all liars. But when they were going through this lecture, you know, they were all together. So there were the astronomers and astrophysicists that made the discoveries, and they were lecturing to a group of their peers, not students. And when it came to the very end, after 3 hours, the astrophysicist went to take questions from his peers, and they all sat there with their mouths hanging open, and nobody had any questions. After 3 hours of very detailed examinations of these images, they had no questions. They were basically sitting there in complete awe of what they just saw. Wow, this is yeah, this is pretty good. I'm going to just keep on backing out of this a little bit so we can see this.
Yeah, it's amazing what we've just discovered. A cluster of brown dwarf stars around a larger brown dwarf star.
So basically that's what they're doing. They are cropping the image and then pixelating it.
Yes.
Because, ladies and gentlemen, you can clearly see on your screen right in front of your eyes. That is exactly what's being done. And there is no need to do this unless you're trying to hide something. So once again, if you have doubts on anything that we're saying, well, look at your screen. And if you have a better explanation, then I would love to hear it. If you are more versed in computers and digital imaging, explain to me what I'm seeing. Because what I see and what I'm thinking is cover up. Because I've been looking at these images for years, ladies and gentlemen. I have zoomed in on all kinds of things with these images and this footage. But now, for some of the first times, I'm starting to see the game that they're playing. And the game is clear. It's cover up. And you have to remember something. They have thousands and thousands of images that they have to go through on a daily basis that are coming in from these satellites, from this imaging. And then they have to get it up there and put it all together so we can see it. That's why there is sometimes a 2 or 3 day delay in what we're actually seeing. You know, for instance, it could be May 25th, but we won't get the images for May 25th until May 28th, because they have to have time to go through the images very quickly and do things like this. I got to take a screenshot of this. Yeah. That, beyond a shadow of a doubt, was doctored.
Yes. Amazing.
Well, you could see, you know, once I backed out of that zoom, you can see this purple object here. You can see this green object even better.
Yes.
And this one and this one.
It's amazing.
Well, well, well.
It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, as you back out of it a little bit, you can see them a lot better.
And you know, if you go right up to the top of the image where the sun is, do you see there are more of them around there?
Yeah, I see one right here, actually.
Yeah, right at the, that's right. And another one below that, right at the left edge
Right there.
of the image. That's right. They're all over the place.
Whew.
Wow.
No wonder,
I didn't know these chords.
You know, no wonder our planet is in such turmoil right now. I mean,
Yes.
This is amazing. I mean, I'm a little bit speechless, ladies and gentlemen, so forgive me for a minute.
Me too.
Because all I'm doing is I'm peering at my computer screen right now, and I am in complete and total amazement at what I'm seeing. I mean,
me too.
And you know, kind of what we've discovered just now is accidental.
It is.
No talent involved here right now. This was purely accidental. Yeah, I'm going to be sending the images off to Prep Aussie, and I'm going to see. I'm going to see what he has to say, because I trust and value his opinion, and he does fantastic work. But this is just absolutely amazing. You know, we're just simply trying to go through the doctor's report, and here we go. Look at that. Oh my! I got to take another screenshot of that.
Unbelievable. And if we were to look at more of the image, we'd probably find more of them.
Oh my.
Yeah.
My.
Sure. They, as you can see, if just one piece has so many of these objects around, you can start to imagine how many they are.
Look at that.
It's amazing. Absolutely. To see evidence like this is...
They're dirty. They are dirty, man. They are dirty to the core. And you know what, doctor? Look at, you can actually see this color. It's like a dark olive green, right where my cursor is.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
You know what? Now my curiosity is piqued, and now I have to see what this is. Now, remember, ladies and gentlemen, this right here, this is not the edge of the sun. No. The edge of the sun is way up here where this white line is, way up in the corner. That would be the edge of the sun. This black area here, this is the occulter. This blocks out the rays, the corona of the sun, so the proper images can be taken without disturbance. But that right there,
yeah,
that looks like that.
That's right. And that's a brown dwarf star, one of the little ones. And the smaller they are, the more powerful they are, actually. Their magnetic fields are stronger, so they're able to drain the other brown dwarf stars. They probably drain each other, and they're able to drain the sun as well. That's why we could see this object interacting with an object below it, because they are interacting with each other.
You know, we would have never been able to see that if I did not want to zoom in and be nosy.
Yes, absolutely. I'm glad you're nosy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this was from the 30th. This was exactly at midnight.
That's right.
2400 hours, May 30th, 2017. Ooh, we're going to have to go over these images now.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take some time.
You see, this is the same object, but this is from August 2007 images.
Yeah, from
Look how
August.
similar it is. It's got the same arc, which is orange, but it's now above the sun, but it's also illuminated on the side facing away from the sun.
Well, you know what we're going to have to do now? We're going
Yes,
to have to zoom in.
let's do that.
Seems to be
Yeah,
somewhat
it's
of a
not,
pixelated box over it. Not too bad.
yeah.
Oops. I just screwed that up.
Yeah, it's not as clear, but you can see the round shape, and that's the envelope, and you can see that it's lighted, that it's emitting light on that side, which is facing away from the sun. So that's the envelope of the object, and they probably put a rectangle over this one as well. So we wouldn't see what it actually is.
Yeah, that one's not as clear as the other.
But you can also see quite a few dots around it. It at least had a cloud of ionized gas beyond the envelope, which is what I would expect.
Yeah,
And as you can,
this was what, 10 years ago?
yeah, this is from 10 years ago, basically. And this object was there. There it was. Obviously not Venus, not one of the objects in the solar system. They don't look like that. They don't have that arc.
No, they usually have,
although
when you see the planets coming across stereo and all of the other imaging, they have a line, a horizontal line that goes through a sphere.
Uh-huh.
They don't look like this.
No, they don't.
They're just a round object, perfectly round, with a horizontal line through it. That's all you see. You don't see all this mess here.
No.
My. So that was from 10 years ago. Oh, I'm sorry.
As you can see, that the solar system was also already filled with gas and debris in 2007. This is why I think these objects must have started coming into the solar system many, many years ago. Probably in the 1990s, 1980s, even the 1970s. Because remember, we know that all the planets in the solar system started warming up in the 1970s. So there's some evidence of that around. So if that started happening, that was probably due to some of these objects moving in then. And then it tells you as well that this thing of the solar minimum is totally ridiculous, because the sun was actually quite fine in the 1970s, and yet all the planets were starting to warm up. There was no sign of a solar minimum then. The sun was still having its normal solar cycles. So this idea of the solar minimum is it just doesn't go along with that.
I have to agree. I have to agree 100%. Yeah. I mean, the grand solar minimum, there may be possibilities somewhere in the very near future that the grand solar minimum theories may be correct. They may not be correct. But I haven't seen any ironclad scientific evidence of that. But
well, they base it on a 200-year cycle. If there was a 200-year cycle and they explaining it with it causes all the planets to warm up, why were the planets warming up in the 1970s?
Yeah, exactly. And what I was about what I was about to say was with all of the interaction with these objects that are in our, and I have to say, within our inner solar system now,
yes,
the possibilities of something occurring to the Earth, a very, very severe pole shift, the possibilities of the Earth being tugged and pulled on and set into another direction other than what we know of today, yes, that would probably freak the weather out, as we're already seeing. And, you know, that could possibly trigger some very, very dramatic weather changes around the world. That much is a fact.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, as far as an ice age, I think that we would have to be pulled out of our orbit further away from the sun, even just a short way. That would definitely create probably an uninhabitable situation on this planet. But you also have the aspect of what's occurring on the planet right now with massive amounts of volcanic activity. Ladies and gentlemen, we have over 30 volcanoes right now in full eruption mode. Let's just think about this. If all of a sudden these volcanoes start going absolutely insane with their eruptions, spewing all of their ash and their gases into the atmosphere, we could potentially be in a situation where the Earth's atmosphere would be completely filled with dust and debris, therefore blocking out the sun, and that would definitely create very cold temperatures around the world, because the sun and the sun simulator would be blocked out. But as far as the grand solar minimum and the science behind it, I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I haven't seen the evidence, and we're sure as hell not seeing it on the Earth. Everything is warming up. It's heating up. The oceans, the atmosphere, everything is heating up. Is it a precursor to what's about to come? Probably. But I guess we're going to have to live through it to really find out. Now we're going back to, once again, the February footage from 2007.
I just wanted to add, Scott, that even though the sun may be getting weaker, we have so many stars in the solar system. They all emitting radiation. They all have magnetic fields. The magnetic fields cause the core of planets to warm up. And so they warm up from the bottom, warm up the oceans. And the radiation from these objects warm up the atmosphere of these planets. So it's not just about the sun. We have lots of stars now in the solar system.
Yeah, and I'm sure they don't know what to do about, you know, all of this cosmic radiation coming, you know, towards the Earth. And again, ladies and gentlemen, we see this radiation whenever we look at some of that imaging. When I show it to you, that shows the radiation coming in, it's all coming in from behind the Earth, from the dark side of the Earth, out in the distance, not in front of the sun. So we see this radiation come in and then envelop the Earth. I've showed it to everyone time and time again, and we're probably going to continue to be under the threat of that radiation. It just might be here to stay. That's what's very worrisome.
Yeah.
It almost puts you at a loss for words, you know, really. Because none of us grew up thinking about, you know, this type of, I'll just call it cosmic radiation. You know, we never grew up thinking about that. When we think of radiation, we all think of, you know, nuclear reactors and you know, that type of man-made radiation. But this type of radiation, wow, you know, this envelops the entire Earth, not just one area, not just one country, not just one state. As the Earth rotates, I mean, we are just being crushed. We're just being blasted by this. And once again, you know, our UV, our ultraviolet rays, I mean, they are just off the chart. So things, you know, things seem to be intensifying.
Yeah.
And that's the way I see it. I don't know about anybody else, but I see things intensifying. You know, so Everybody has a right to their own opinion, but I study this information every single day, 7 days a week. The doctor has been doing the same thing now for what, over a year, and we're all making the observations. We're keeping very good detail of what's happening. Fact of the matter is, some people may think nothing of it. I think that it's getting worse. Doctor, what is your opinion on that? Do you think things are getting worse from the point where you started your observations until this point today?
I think, well, my understanding has just grown exponentially, basically. I mean, I could speak for 2 hours about what I have learned. And basically, to me, it's rewritten the laws of the universe, just these observations. And definitely things are getting much more dramatic. We are seeing more and more objects. We're seeing, even on Earth, more and more earthquakes. And I actually think more and more of these objects are coming into the solar system. Yes, that's that object. That's the first brown dwarf star I have ever observed. For me, this was a breakthrough. Yes, there's the square around it. Absolutely. And you can see a little bit of the cloud. Oh my goodness. And you know that it looks like green objects around it as well.
Yeah, and this one's a little blurry because it was so small. Oops, I didn't want to do that.
Wow. My goodness. This is amazing. You see, what I noticed there was the cloud of ionized gas that was glowing on the side facing away from the sun. I never thought I could look at it and see this green around it, green objects.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what they are.
Well, I think they just don't move around as one object. Maybe they move around in clusters.
It's a possibility. You know, it's definitely a possibility. I mean, these scientists and astrophysicists, they discovered, I think maybe a year or two ago, they discovered these clusters of brown dwarf stars.
Yeah.
And they documented it. They documented it for sure.
Yeah. So the point of these images was that I was showing that it was lighting up on the side facing away from the sun, and then it became dark as it headed towards the sun, which shows that it goes from light emission or energy emission mode to energy absorption mode. That was my conclusion there.
And this was the object that just whipped around the sun. And you know, I'm not even going to mention individuals' names, but they wanted me to come to the conclusion that was the moon orbiting around the sun, or orbiting in front of the stereo occulter, the big black circle here that blocks the view of the corona of the sun, so you can see the imaging. They wanted me to believe that this object passed in front of this object and then shot out of the solar system. You know, and if that's the moon and the white circle is the sun, look at the size of this object compared to the circle. And if you were to put, you know, and I've already gone over this with diagrams and shown everyone, I mean, in actual the actual photographs that I showed, I mean, you wouldn't even see the moon. It would be a tiny little, puny little speck.
That's right.
It wouldn't look this big. Yeah.
Yeah, because this object, this object actually goes into the sun's corona. I spent quite some time showing when I wrote about it. It traversing the sun. I showed that it was in the sun's corona. There's no way the moon can go into the sun's corona.
And you definitely wouldn't see it on any of these images because it would look like a little teeny tiny little speck. I mean,
Exactly.
maybe smaller than a grain of sand. So you wouldn't see it. You wouldn't know if that even happened by looking at any of these images. You just wouldn't see it. It's too small. The sun's too big. Definitely amazing. So what do you have here on this footage for?
Here I just show that when the object now is behind the occulter, and you see that the corona goes dark below the sun.
Yeah.
And to me, that shows the reaction of the sun. Also, you see how bright the sun is above. In the previous image, it was bright like that below. Now, it's not normal for the sun to look. I mean, it's like the sun itself has grown in size and moved above the occulter. That's what it looks like over there.
Yeah, and there's a very big dark spot right here, a big dip.
That's right, because I talked about this in other articles. What that is a plasma, not a plasma, it's a particle flux transfer between the sun and another object, obviously another brown dwarf star. And so it actually looks dark because some of these particles absorb light instead of emitting light. But what interests me is that bright patch above the sun. It's like the sun is having a, I don't know, a huge CME, but it doesn't travel. So it's just amazing that it's doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. That is.
So it's a reaction, basically. It's a reaction from the sun due to the presence of this object. And the sun would not react like this to a planet. It's got to be another star for the sun to have these intense reactions. And that's the whole point.
Yeah, because the sun would not have reactions like that to a planet going by. If it did, every time, you know, Mercury zips around the sun every 88 days, you would see this constant interaction with Mercury, but we don't see that. So we know that that's not a planet. Now we're moving into
June
and
this is this is what the images usually look like before they fix them. So in the beginning, before they have time to fix them, the latest images always show things like this, where the corona actually goes black in comparison with the upper hemisphere above the sun. And I think in a way they do come and fix it up and make everything look normal again. But the fact that these images look like this means to me that the sun is reacting to something.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Normal.
There is no doubt. Whenever you watch this imaging, ladies and gentlemen, and I mean, I could pull it up for you, but whenever you watch this, it will look pretty clear, as you see down here if you follow my cursor. As soon as the sun starts to react to one of these objects that's getting very close to it, all of this interference starts to occur. You will see the screen go crazy with all of this interference. And that is due to, well, I'd have to say all of the energy overwhelming the camera, overwhelming the spacecraft, the satellite, and the camera systems. And that's what's occurring. And then they doctor it up, you know, a good bit because they probably examine it and they probably say, oh, wow, look at that. Oh, no, they can't see that. We better, you know, get the Sharpie magic marker out and color that up. You know,
that's right.
We know they do that. Yeah, this was a very, very good report. Informative. That is no doubt about that. We can definitely see how they're covering things up. And that just seems to be the majority of what they do nowadays. Yeah, they just be covering stuff up there at NASA. They're hiring a bunch of artists. Yes, they are hiring a bunch of artists and digital experts. They're no longer hiring astronauts and scientists and astronomers. They're heading to
Yeah.
the local art institute so they can bring these people in to paint by numbers.
Yes.
But they think that they're slick. They think that they're pretty slick, but you know, it just takes two talented people like myself and the doctor to uncover what they're doing. And ladies and gentlemen, you know, I mean, I'll just come out here and say this. There may be some people that are afraid of what's happening. You know, the situation with earthquakes and volcanoes and the situation that the earth is going through right now. My best advice to you is don't be afraid. Don't be afraid because, you know, there's nothing that we can do about the situation, but we have to learn about it. Remember, I always say knowledge is power, and all of the knowledge that you are picking up by listening to me and the doctor, you never know what little piece of information that you're going to pick up that might save your life. We are going to be going through some extreme changes. How long it's going to take, I wish I had a date. Because if I did have a date, well, I can tell you this much. I'd be living like it's 1999, that song by Prince. I'd be partying like it was 1999, and I would go out with one hell of a bang. But we don't know exactly, you know, what dates things are going to turn to the worst. But I can guarantee you this much. Things aren't going to get any better. They're going to get worse. You know, and I'm going to bring up the situation that's going on over in the UK right now. Very horrible situation. There's a very, very high possibility that these are false flags being conducted over in the UK. And then what is the first thing they come out and say? Oh, we have to censor the internet. Oh, we have to censor YouTube. Yes. They are coming after your freedom of speech, ladies and gentlemen. They want to shut down the flow of information. This doesn't have anything to do with terrorists. Shut down the flow of information because terrorists are using YouTube? Listen. YouTube has a very sophisticated system in place. They're censoring my channels. There's no doubt about it. So what makes you think that YouTube can't find terrorist channels on their platform? Come on, give me a break. This is clear as a bell, ladies and gentlemen. The UK is leading the way to worldwide censorship. You know, it would be really, really hard to get something like this past the American people because, you know, we'll just like stand up and we'll go crazy. The UK is a much smaller country. They may be able to do this to their people. We know other countries have already done it. I get the analytical reports from my YouTube channel, which shows me the viewership in every single country on this planet. And right now, really, depending on how you view YouTube, if you live in the United States, Canada, and the UK, and some other countries, you can see these videos, but a large portion of the European countries and Eastern European countries, they're not seeing my videos unless they're using other means such as a cell phone. I know that's a fact. I've mentioned all of this before. My Nibiru channel, my original channel, has over 50,000 subscribers. And going through last July, August, September, October, I had no problem with my European viewers seeing my videos and getting my notifications. But October 5th of 2016, when the internet was supposedly handed over to the UN, all of that went straight downhill. And I've never heard from any of these people ever again. I had several people that were giving me fantastic information from the country of Bulgaria. And then I ran a story on some information that was given to me about an astronomer and meteorologist who worked at an observatory way high on a mountain for 20 years. And then he was making some very crucial observations from that mountaintop where his station was. And remember, this man has been working up there at that meteorology station for 20 years. Now, all of a sudden, his log books are missing, and he falls off the top of the mountain. He went out, took a walk, and never came back. I did a report. I did a story on this. First-hand information coming from my guy in Bulgaria, who is a political dissident, and I still keep in touch with him. But as soon as these people want to divulge what they're seeing, they end up dead. Now, if you worked on top of a mountain for 20 years, and then all of a sudden you fall off of it, and you end up way at the bottom, just nothing but a piece of crushed bones and flesh. Don't you think after 20 years you would know the terrain? After 20 years of working up there? And then why all of a sudden do you just fall off the mountain? Doesn't make any sense. So these are the things that are being done to cover up the truth. I think we may be a little further past that right now. But it does make you wonder. It truly does. But anyways, Doctor, I'm going to go ahead and end this live stream because we have a lot of work to get into for the rest of the morning and the rest of the day. Any last words? I hate saying that, but any last words?
Thanks, Scott. Well, thank you again for having me, helping me to see these images properly, and you know, for allowing me to tell people the truth and about what time it is. It's time to get to know our Creator.
Yeah, definitely no doubt about that, ladies and gentlemen. I've mentioned that before. You know, if you don't have any faith, if you don't follow a religion, hey, listen, you know, that's your prerogative. But at least in the time to come, gather some faith. Gather some faith from somewhere. I know each and every one of you have faith in me and the doctor as far as bringing you the information that we gather on a daily basis. But digging into your spiritual side, that may be a big help. Because when things are really, really bad, that's the only thing that you're going to have to fall back on. And that's your faith. Whether it be your faith in God or your religion, faith in mankind. We all know we don't have faith in our governments. That much is for sure. They're ruining the world. They're ruining our planet, our safe place. Sooner or later, it's all going to come to a head, but we are going to continue once again, each and every day, and we're going to dig and dig and dig till we find the truth. We're getting very, very close. We know what's going on, but there is so much more to uncover, and that's what we're here for. we're here to uncover what they are trying to cover up.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line. Well, listen, Doc, stay on the line here with me real quick. And I'm going to go ahead and end this live stream, ladies and gentlemen. But listen, stay tuned. Share our videos on your Facebook pages. You can tweet them out to whomever. Try to strike up conversations with your friends and family members, even if they think you're crazy. Try to get them to sit down with you for a few minutes. Show them one of our videos and show them some of the information that's coming out. You never know. You may open someone's eyes and they may open someone's eyes, and so on and so on. That's what we're looking for. So make sure you stay tuned. This is Scott and the Rogue Physicist from Planet X News. Thank you for watching.